Okay, let's do a video on humor. So I regard humor as one of the deepest spiritual things and one of the both signs and ways to good psychological health. So it's partly a cultural bias. I'll say first of all, from an Anglo-Irish background, we tend to really value humor. One of the reasons I kind of left the regressive left, I decided this was not my tribe anymore, is they just don't have a sense of humor. And when humour dies, fundamentalism steps in. So you'll also notice the sort of hard right often loses a sense of humour. Religious fundamentalists, particularly I see this in Islam, often lack any kind of sense of humour. You know, you made a cartoon about our prophet, we're going to kill you. Get a fucking grip, man. You need to laugh at yourself. You'll see this in yoga. People are like taking themselves so seriously. Green smoothies, everything's very serious. I'm terribly spiritual. No, you're not. You're a twat. Yeah. Humour creates space to look at ourselves. So in humor, if we can laugh at something, it hasn't got us. Does that make sense? So if something's got us, we're caught in it. I know for me, when my stress levels are getting too high, and I'm not seeing the funny side of this. Like I just got banned from this yoga festival for saying, you know, centrist, slightly right-wing things. And, you know, I still, most of the time, I still had a sense of humor about it. I was like, you know, this is actually quite funny that yoga's about union and acceptance and all these things, but I'm getting banned from people who've never even met me. You know, that is kind of ironic. I remember when the sort of hardcore feminist who organised it, hey Shri, said, you know, like, oh, and I just got given his job. I was like, really? That's funny. Do you not see the funny side of that sort of rip-off going on there? So humour, being able to laugh at ourselves, stops us descending into fundamentalism. It helps us make space where we can grow. You know, with clients, I'll make jokes about all kinds of things. You know, even clients who have been abused, there's a type of way you can laugh at that because it takes the power of it away. I've worked in Israel quite a bit, and I know people there will make Holocaust jokes. Now, I'm not saying you should make Holocaust jokes about Jews the whole time, but certainly they were inviting me into that when they trusted me because it was a way of taking away some of the power of the terrible things that happened to them and their relatives. Yeah, this distinction between towards and away from humour. So towards humour is humour that brings us into contact with ourselves or other people, and away humour is that defensive humour that, oh, this is too uncomfortable to talk about it, so I'm going to make a joke kind of humour. You know the difference. You feel that in other people. You really get that. We all do, I think. It's pretty obvious. So towards and away from humour, towards and away from connection. Good distinction to make. Transcendent humour rather than kind of defensive humour would be another way of talking about a kind of similar thing. So for me, humour is absolutely sacred. Yeah, it's our best defense against tyranny. It's the best defense against our own blind spots. It's often a way of opening up stuff that we don't want to look at. In society, you know, humor is always about taboo. I think it's massive, and I think it's what the regressive left really lost. So both as a sign of who not to go near, I think it's really helpful. And if you meet these like super enlightened Zen masters and stuff, I know one called Jumpo I used to work with, super funny guy. It's the kind of Yoda archetype, you know, he's like wise and funny at the same time. Dalai Lama has this, right? So it's a good sign when a teacher has a sense of humor if you're looking for teachers in this field, personal growth kind of work, and also trying to keep it yourself and using that as a warning sign when you may be either going into fundamentalism or just getting stressed and needing to step back from it and create a bit of space. So humor exercises around this. Do some improv. Go to an improv class. Watch some good comedians. You know, like what I think I've noticed is comedians have been some of the people that have been standing up to the regressive left. You look at Bill Burr. You look at oh god, there's a few others that are out there, but there's definitely some. You know, names. Even Louis C.K., who's kind of leftist, says some things that are against the regressive left. And there's a way in which humour makes that okay. You know, the jester's the only person who can speak to the king. And make no mistake, who thinks they're the monarchs now. So look at a few comedians. Actually, spend some time looking for what's wise in what they're doing. You know, make time for humour yourself. You know, look at, is there humour in your relationship? Me and my wife have a lot of fun. You know, not just in the bedroom, but with humour. Yeah. Is there humour in your work? You know, when I started bringing humour into my trainings, I immediately got feedback that the trainings were a lot better. People really liked it. You know, ask yourself, where in your life have you lost your humour that it might actually make you wiser and kinder and just a bit happier? So a little few reflections there on humour.